14th of June, 2017, a fire broke out in the 24-storey Grenfell Tower block of flats in North Kensington, West London, one of London's richest boroughs. The tower was covered in highly flammable ACM cladding, and this resulted in 72 people losing their lives in the tragedy, which is said to be the worst UK residential fire since the Second World War. Hi, Feruza.
Hello.
It's a story that has touched so many people's lives and impacted on so many different people's lives. Can you tell us about your connection to Grenfell?
So my connection to Grenfell is my sister, Amal Ahmadine, her husband, and my niece, Amaya Tuku, and a cousin who was staying at the time. They lived in Grenfell Tower, and they passed away at the tragedy. And on that day, I lost a huge part of my world. My big sister, we called Samia, was one of the most energetic, warm, and generous people that I knew. And she was someone that just always had my back. She would literally take the top off her back and give it to you if you needed it. And she showed me how to live life to the full. She spoke 6 languages, and she was always connecting with people, always making friends, and was really a role model in my life. I wanted to be just like her. I wanted to be the life of the party like she was, and I saw her become this incredible mum to my niece, who was 3 years old at the time. And a whole life of potential was stolen from us. And so, yeah, that was my connection to Grenfell, and losing them in the most horrific way. Yeah, it's hard to put into words.
Okay. So part of the reason we're here today is to acknowledge the work you've done on a creative project called Golden Ashes, which is a visual portrait series of the Grenfell community. Can you take us through the journey towards Golden Ashes?
So Golden Ashes was really never part of the plan, but it was my response to what happened. And in the months after Grenfell, it was the darkest time of our lives. It really felt like, for myself and for a lot of people, that our lives ended on the 14th of June. And figuring out how to move forward when you are that broken, that lost. We just didn't have the roadmap. We didn't know how. And so it was about 9 months after the tragedy. I couldn't really face the tower. I couldn't face going back into the area and seeing the thing that stole our loved ones from us. But I knew that I didn't want to feel alone anymore. And I knew that there was a community that she lived in who might have known her in a different way, and I just wanted to connect to them. And so I went on my first silent walk. So on the 14th of June, the community would gather and walk silently in the area. And this was probably the first time that I saw community in action. I don't really think I knew what that meant before this point. And we would walk silently and we would pay our respects. And I saw just the local residents, the bereaved, the survivors walk in with such dignity and love for one another, and just figuring out how to put one step in front of the other. But also it was a time to reflect, and this was organised by Ziad, who's also part of this project, and Grenfell United. And it was a response that I don't think anyone expected, because people were rightfully angry and horrified at what happened, and the community was left. They were neglected, they were abandoned for 48 hours after the fire. The council were nowhere to be seen. And seeing the people come together and hold each other up, and the compassion that was shown, it really does leave a mark on you. And at the end of my first silent walk, I was angry. Like a rage kind of grew inside of me, because as I saw this amazing community, I saw that the response wasn't right, that they were left, they were neglected, and something had to change. And this, at this point, the tower was left uncovered, and it was this hollowed out coffin looming over the community, and seeing that they weren't rioting, they weren't taking up the streets, even though they should be. I just wanted them to be cared for. I wanted them to find a way to heal. And so at the end of the walk, I met someone who quite literally changed my life, and that was Bilal. And he lived in Grenfell Tower, and he saw me at the end of the walk. I'd kind of gone on my own, and he saw that I was crying and just really lost, and he asked me who I was, and he shared his story. And he said something that really inspired me to do something. And he said, I channel my anger into fighting for this community and into demanding the change that we need. And he, alongside Grenfell United, who are a committee of bereaved and survivors who've been campaigning for change and really are the most inspirational people I've ever met. I saw them look after the rest of the bereaved and survivors while they themselves were grieving and going through the worst of it. And I left that conversation saying, I need to do something, and I don't know what it is, but I want to contribute to our healing as a community. And the next day, I went to church, and I'm a Christian, and so there was a guest preacher at the time. I was still angry, but the talk was on social justice, and a quote was shared that really gave meaning to my anger, and it was this one. Hope has two beautiful daughters, and their names are Anger and Courage. Anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not remain as they are. And my response was that there was hope for the first time, that I could do something, that, you know, I didn't have to stay there in my despair, but actually we could refocus the lens on the people at the heart of this and fight for something that is important, that people being cared for and healing after something like this was really important. And so I began that journey, and Golden Ashes is a photo series, a visual series, and we also created a short film by Candor, Zach and Ben, who also came alongside voluntarily to tell these individual stories and actually bringing visibility to the individuals of this tragedy. It's no longer this political talking point, but these are individual stories, people like myself who've lost part of their world, and we need to make sure this never happens to anyone else.
So I was actually asleep on the sofa, then I was awoken by sirens. The fire started at 5 to 1, I got rescued officially at 4:47. One of the things that we had to do in the first 6 months was dispel the myths around Grenfell. We're still fighting that pocket of people that believed the block was full of illegal immigrants and benefit scroungers, when in fact it was far from that. We had to change that narrative and show people who we really were. I don't want Grenfell to define me as a person. You know, I'm just me.
What was it like for you to hear these stories and to begin to connect more closely with the community?
For me, it was a journey of discovering the beauty of our community. So Natasha, who was in that video, literally one of the kindest people that you'll meet, is the chair of Grenfell United, and seeing how she cared for her fellow neighbours and She herself being bereaved, dedicating all these hours, these days to making sure people were rehoused and speaking truth to power. And it's a thankless job, really, but did it because it was the right thing. Getting to meet these people, hearing their stories, it really taught me how to advocate for people. And this is Ed also, who was living in the tower for 17 years. And we went bird watching because that's something he liked to do. And, bringing back some sort of normalcy. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's some more photos that we're going to share.
So you've mentioned Ed and Natasha, but these are only a handful of the many stories that you've shared with people. Can you take us through some more?
Yeah. So this process, again, it was really an exchange. It was, yes, taking photos, but we were holding space for each other. We were bringing autonomy back to our stories by reclaiming the narrative and making sure that we were speaking for ourselves. And really, all these different people have such a special place in my heart because they were welcoming into their homes, and we shared really vulnerable moments, but we also had a space to reflect that wasn't, judgmental, and process and remember our loved ones and speak on who they were in a way that only we can. There was a lot of, headlines in the newspapers and in the media, just, magnifying these stereotypes that were not true, and it was really dishonoring to who we knew our families were. And also, there was moments of joy, which might not seem like it fits in this picture, but it was a reminder that we are more than our trauma, and that life is somehow still worth living, but we also have the power to make that change.
So, all the proceeds from the sale of the Golden Ashes photo book are going towards well-being charities in the area. Why is that important to you? And also, what does healing mean to you, Feruza?
So it was really important to feed back to the well-being efforts in the area and support grassroots organizations that were, again, looking after, the community that was really traumatized and broken and are still grieving and still processing this tragedy. So it was, one of the most proudest things that we could do as a team to support. We're supporting 3 local charities. And also, it's a big part of why, what I believe healing is. And healing is taking back your power and healing in your own terms. That it doesn't have to be prescribed to you. You can figure out a way to move forward and to restore who you are. And I think that's what we kind of did by coming together, like the images that kind of show the community that surrounded Golden Ashes was, it was us coming around our stories and reminding ourselves that we have a voice. We don't have to be spoken for. And that together, when we share space and we create space for one another, we can move forward and bring about the change we need in our lives and those around us.
Thank you, Feruza. It's an incredible project, not just a creative project, but an important project as well for the community and the world, really. And it's been a privilege to be part of the Golden Ashes project and also part of the team. And on behalf of the team and all the people that you have connected to the project in making the book, I would like to say a sincere thank you for being with us today and sharing your story.
Thank you. I honestly could not have done this without the help of my team, and having voices like Errol in my corner, really just affirming me in this process, and being a mentor to me. I'm truly grateful for you, for my team, for Grenfell United, and for Candor, the community that have surrounded this. And also just want to leave you with this last image. And the 3 words that are quite distinct, this was at a silent walk, was just us, courage and justice. And I guess what I wanted to share was that, you know, having courage to take that first step and do your part can create change. And also the fact that it is just us, that the healing that we desire and the healing that we need, it doesn't necessarily have to come out from outside of the community. And justice, there's a quote by Dr. Cornel West that I really love, and it says that justice is what love looks like in public. And it's really what Grenfell United has shown me. Yeah. Thank you.